Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ContribEx meeting in August. I am your host today, Killen, one of the co-chairs of SIG ContribEx. And to get a few things out of the way, these meetings are recorded. They'll be posted to the internet later today. And we abide by a code of conduct, which essentially boils down to please be excellent to each other. Oh my God. Sorry, my cat was like randomly came over and bit my foot. Okay, I guess with that, let's actually do some intros. I'll toss it over to, we'll do the hot potato game, and I will toss it over to Josh.
Howdy, I'm Josh Burkus and doing my best Queen video impression because I'm on my laptop camera. I work a little bit on mentoring and on a variety of other things, including the upcoming steering committee elections, which I'm going to add to the agenda as soon as I'm done talking. And let me pass it over to Kim.
Hey everyone, I'm Kim. I'm a developer advocate at DigitalOcean, focusing on Kubernetes, and I'm hoping to get more involved in the Kubernetes community. So here I am.
So happy to have you.
Well, thank you. Laura.
Hi, so I'm Laura Santa Maria. I am a developer advocate at Pulumi, and I help manage the community meeting, and I'm part of Contributor Summit this round. And I'm on Slack a lot, but I miss like half the Zoom meetings all the time. So that's me. And I'm going to toss it to Allison.
Hey everyone, I'm Allison. I'm a co-chair for his SIG contributor experience. It is a very lovely, sunny but cloudy day today in London. And yeah, good to see everyone here on the line. I'm going to pass the hot potato over to Kathleen.
Hi, everyone. I joined in the middle of the introductions, so I'm not sure who hasn't gone yet. So if someone hasn't gone yet, please jump in after me. But I'm Kathleen Fields, and I'm a developer advocate at Google, and I'm a member of the sub-project, that's the right terminology, isn't it? Of the ContribEx group, which is focused on contributor communications, both communicating with contributors what's happening, and communicating externally more about what contributors are doing. I don't know if anyone hasn't gone yet, but if you haven't, please jump in because I don't know.
I can go next. So hi,
thank you.
My name is Madhav. I'm currently a student, but
Madhav, can you turn up your mic at all?
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So hi, I'm Madhav. I'm currently a student, but I've been doing I'm in a lot of other places in the community right now. This is, I think, my second ContribEx Zoom meeting. Otherwise, I'm usually there on the async meetings, but it's nice to be here. Thanks. I'm not sure who hasn't gone. Ihor, would you like to go next?
I can go. Hi, everyone. My name is Arno. I'm a co-chair of Gates Empire Working Group, registration lead for the whole organization, release manager associate. So I've been around for a certain time now. So welcome to the new people. I will pass finally to Ihor.
Okay, that's okay. With that, let's jump right into sort of our regularly scheduled business. And that's first with events. We actually probably need to update this template because George isn't really running the office hours anymore. That is sort of just been delegated to Pop and Raw Code, and they're just running things well, at least from what I've seen on Twitter and YouTube. And that will then go over to the
to
community meeting.
me. So right now, August community meeting is going to be the retro for release. We thought it might be good to kind of blend the two together. Just because that way lots of people will join, hopefully, maybe, possibly. There also was a discussion, I've been meaning to bring this up in a meeting, and I think this is the first one I've actually been in person at. There was kind of a discussion about whether the community meeting is working, whether we should persist with the current model. I wanted to bring it up as that was a discussion that was happening in Slack, and I didn't know if we wanted to talk about it again. So kind of tossing that out there to folks. I think the big thing we're really running into right now is just you can't get it on people's calendars. So we're working on that problem. So like that, I know there's updates on that. So I think that's the main thing. And there probably is some Zoom fatigue as well, but I wanted to bring it up because I know the one big thing that we run into is that it does take a lot of legwork. So it's kind of hard on the host and or the person running the community meeting, which I just kind of start putting it out there and people start volunteering, but put it out to the group. Thoughts, comments?
I do think like it's worth running with the current sort of idea we want for it. I do think that the biggest problem has just been getting on people's calendars. But we now have an update there, and that we can actually export the KDEV list now. We were not able to previously do that. So like theoretically, a migration now should be very simple.
Okay. I was wondering the KDEV export.
Yeah.
I knew that was important, but I wasn't 100% sure why. But now you're saying it's so that we can migrate over to a different system.
Yep, we'll be able to have a like dev at kubernetes.io, a managed account that we can actually like send calendar invites to and not run into API limits because the list is so big. And once that and we start getting things on people's calendars, it's the same thing I think with like meet our contributors. Like
That's kind of thinking.
Yeah, the big problem is we unless we invite every 6 individual mailing list, we're not going to get folks. But
all right.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of extra time since we're going to kind of put it together with the release retro, and a lot of people know about that. So we'll have a little bit of extra time to get that all figured out before September's.
Yep. I think the biggest thing, we can create a new list, like we can just literally create it today. But all the comms regarding the switch and asking people to update their docs and sharing, like that's the one thing is like we'd have to sort of define a plan of when we're doing the cutover and when the old list is getting retired.
Okay. So I don't know if we want to talk about that later or if we want to talk about that now. I know I volunteered to kind of help get the ball rolling. So I can set up to put a plan together, but I think I really should talk to contributor comms because I don't really know what I'm doing making comms. So yay. So maybe that's a discussion we should have in a little bit. So yay. Anyway, that's the update on the community meeting. Ta-da.
It's like my headset battery has died.
Yeah, mine just died a minute ago, hence the darting away to get a corded headset.
I have 2 batteries, so I can hot swap. Well, not hot swap, but I can swap and keep things going for an entire day. Yeah, we can talk about the plan for that a little bit later.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the community meeting discussion, and I will hand it back over to Bob.
Okay. Actually, does anyone have any other questions, comments on the community meeting? Okay, the contributor summit. Things are progressing well. The reg form is now live, although we've not sent out comms or updated the website yet. We are still sort of trucking along with our original idea and plan, I can drop the link to like the planning doc there. I think like the next big thing that we need to decide sooner rather than later is the where we're actually hosting the social event. And just to make sure we can get the quote and lock down the space. If you are interested more in the Contributor Summit stuff, there's a separate meeting on Mondays. It's sometime in the afternoon. But you should all have the invite if you join the ContribEx mailing list. But if that's something you're interested in helping with, that's like following along there is the best place to get involved. Does anyone have any questions regarding the Contributor Summit? Okay, steering elections.
Yeah, so our first step in terms of starting up a steering election is selecting an election committee. I'm going to be in the election committee this year because I kind of have to, because this will be our first steering election with Electo. But part of the goal is for maybe me not to be on the election committee next year. Normally we have a 3-person election committee, and how we did it last year was we divided up into 3 roles. One of which was general tech running the election system, one of which was maintaining the voter list, and then the third one of which was comms, basically sending out all the messages around the election. So as far as I know, we're still looking for the voter list person and the comms person for the election. And particularly this year, I would like at least one of those 2 people to be interested in learning the technical mechanics of running Electo, so that they can be the continuation next year and I don't have to be. If anybody's interested in that, go ahead and let me and Bob know.
Yeah, actually, Caslin, do you know if anyone in marketing might be interested?
I do not, but we can reach out to the group and ask.
Okay. With the hitch that because it is the steering committee election, it can't be either Broberg or Short.
Okay.
Because we all work for the same company.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's one of the other. That's actually one of the other hitches is we really want the 3 people to all have 3 different employers.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions, comments regarding the election? Okay. Any other general events questions or comments? Then that will take us over to mentoring and meet our contributors. I think the big thing here is we now actually have StreamYard. It's all configured. And the hard part is calendars and sending calendar invites, which would also be resolved by some of the mailing list stuff. Does anyone else involved in MOC have any sort of like updates or thoughts? Okay.
No, like I said, as soon as we figure out the calendar issue, I'm willing to host one.
Moving on, Playground, GSOC outreach at your. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, I have updates about LFX mentoring. So we are kicking off the fall cycle pretty soon. And for the reference, here's the link with the tentative schedule when we'll have when we'll have the next steps. So I know that there've been a few people in the community who've been curious about the dates of the LFX mentoring program for the full cycle. So here are the actual dates. As usual, the mentoring cycle itself will happen, like the dates are since September 1st till the end of November. And during the next week, we'll have all the projects listed who are participating in the program, and mentees will be able to participate in them. And not participate, but apply. And we'll also send a call for projects to apply for participation pretty soon as well. There are no updates on the GOCC side, so everything is smooth, and the end of program is by the end of August. So more news coming soon. But we have 17 mentees this time around with all CNC projects.
Nice.
If someone is curious.
Cassie, do you remember how many we had last year?
19, I believe, 19 or 18. So basically the same number.
Okay. It sounded like roughly around it, but I didn't remember the exact numbers.
Yeah. Like I remember, like for the last 3 or 4 consecutive years, we have like something around 20 mentees per year. So basically the same number.
Cool. Any questions, comments regarding those outreach programs? I guess we'll pop over then to the new contributor workshop. Allison.
Hello. So contributor workshop stuff. Current state of it is we had a good chat about the things on Monday where we're going to potentially be getting the technical writers. Sorry, I always forget like the full-on context of this. There's going to be technical writers from the Google season of docs, I think, budget. Was it that one? Was it
Not from the Seasons of Docs budget, but yeah,
okay. Which one?
I have earmarked money. I work for Google. I've set aside some money to bring on tech writers to help us with the new contributor workshop.
So we're going to get some help with that soon, hopefully. Still need to get the page layout all kind of there. And then from once the page layout's there, it's just a sense of translating the information that we have already into more of like a guide format. So like from a slides and talks format to a docs style. Yeah, so that's the update from there.
Cool, thank you. Does anyone have any questions regarding the new contributor sort of workshop course?
I couldn't attend the Monday's meeting regarding the contributor summit, but if there is anything required, like if there's any help required with the content of NCW, I can probably help out. So I helped run a few new contributor workshops for a couple of KCD events over here, so I can try and help out.
Nice. There are a bunch of open issues in GitHub, and we, I think they're all prefixed with like NCW, or like, do you remember the prefix, Allison?
NCW2.
Okay.
Thanks.
And then, yeah, the mentoring meeting is actually at a India friendly time. So if that helps too.
But if you were asking about the contributor summit specifically at the upcoming KubeCon North America, they're not planning to do a new contributor workshop, I believe is the plan. So
then that's probably my bad. Like I mixed the two up. Like I thought that was discussed in. Thanks.
Oh, no, yeah, it's for this summit, and just like we've had a lot of issues with running the new contributor workshops in person at events, and it's like a huge like strain on a bunch of staff, and especially with the uncertainty this year with like who can be there, like we are not doing a new contributor workshop at all for this summit.
I mean, I would say based on the results, I was not thinking that we would do a KubeCon one again,
Yeah.
like ever. Because if you look at the number of people who attended the new contributor workshop, you know, for the people whose GitHub IDs we have, and their contribution history after that, I forget who did this, but somebody did an analysis on the first 3 of them. And there was just a severe fall off. Like the first one, we got a bunch of new contributors who hung around. And after that, there was kind of a steep decline. Now, I understand that various meetups have had better results with doing local new contributor workshops. And so I think still having some kind of a kit for them to do a local small one makes sense. I think those are probably more effective than the ones at KubeCon.
Completely agree there. Oh,
yeah.
actually, one thing of note, sort of this is going back to contributor summit / events. We do have space for a SIG meet and greet during KubeCon itself. So in addition, I believe the time is like Wednesday morning, Wednesday, I think during the lunch. But the idea is like people can go to that, potentially get an idea of some stuff, and then attend some of the other specific like SIG or working group like sessions themselves. So it's like mini recruiting event to then it's like, here you can get involved here or learn more about us by coming to the thing on, you know, whenever their session is scheduled. Sorry, excuse me. Are there any other sort of questions, comments on the new contributor workshop? Okay, off to community management. Start with the need to know chair TL email. We have several things sort of on the docket that should be added to that, namely around the contributor summit. So, and just like a reminder that, hey, the steering committee election will be coming up. The other big thing is the general discussion around like potentially making like tech leads mandatory in terms and term limits. And that's going to be sort of discussed at some future chair and TL meetings. Does anyone have any like other things that they know of that should sort of go on the list of things?
Should something about the KDev migration go on there?
Yes, that along with like, honestly, all the channels. KDev is like our single source of truth. It like, if there's comms that happen there, there should be something about the KDev migration. Send to all the things. And I guess this would actually probably be the best place to also discuss that the KDev migration. So, you know, jumping back to our earlier chat. The one thing that I think would probably be advisable, at least for a time frame in that migration, would be after the steering election. I don't know if other people have thoughts, but like, I just want to make sure that we, like, all our steering election comms, like, go to the place people expect them.
Well, I think especially if, are we changing the election system to Electo? Like, I'd only change one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are going to get really lost really fast. That's my take. I don't know anything else.
Josh, you're muted.
What else are we talking about changing?
No, I'm saying, I thought that you were saying that Electo is like a new platform for, yeah, so like I wouldn't have a brand new voting platform and migrating KDev at the same time. I think that would get people too confused. Have like one thing change, which is the election system, the voting system, and then leave KDev alone until after. So I agree with the assessment of one thing and doing KDev later.
Does anyone else have thoughts?
the problem that I have with that is that the calendaring issue is kind of acute, and I'm reluctant to put it off for that reason.
Okay.
I think I would rather be broadcasting out messages to both mailing lists. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm trying to recruit a comms person, so it's going to be partly up to them. But you know, given how many times we've been saying, "Oh yeah, we should resume doing this thing," but the calendar is a problem. I'm kind of reluctant to put off, you know, fixing the calendar effectively for another 2 months in order to have things clear for the election.
And the alternative would be to like comms and process would have to be like now, like we would have to get going on this like now, and then like at the end of August we are doing the cutover or something like that.
Well, so then that's a question of who has time to work on this during August.
Yeah.
One of my other questions about this is, so are we planning on doing a straight migration now that we can actually extract the names?
Yep. The one other nice thing with the exported list is it includes all the emails that are bouncing. So we'll be able to
screen those.
We'll be able to just eliminate all the bounced email addresses.
Okay. So it's still gonna wow. So Google Groups don't unsubscribe those people automatically, huh?
Nope.
Wow.
They will signal that they are bounced, and you can
I would
filter.
Say, are we sure we don't want to switch to Mailman? But that has its own issues.
No, we are tied
particularly
to
for large
groups.
mailing lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said before, it's not so much getting, so like elections honestly would be one of the least affected things by the switch, because like the only thing that happens then is any comms we send about elections need to be sent to both lists, both the old one and the new one, and beyond that we're not dependent on the list for people's permissions to vote. What's going to be painful for the switchover of lists is permissions on Google Documents.
Yep.
The
other thing is like
going to consume a lot of people time.
That and the moderation queues, like we will likely need a bunch of moderators, because anyone that's posting there for the first time will need to get approved. And so that will essentially be everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like next step would be both from this meeting and then out on Slack, etc., to see who's interested in helping with us, because we probably want 5 or 6 people who are interested in helping with the migration.
Yeah.
To carry it off. And if we don't get those 5 or 6 people, then we maybe want to, you know, maybe we do want to delay.
The other thing that we can do too is if we do wind up wanting to migrate, you know, ahead of time or before the election, would be to like block posting to that list as a sort of general forcing function to get over to the new list. I just like I think the biggest thing it'll just be coordinating the comms. Is just like we are migrating to this list. We actually want to do it for all of the SIG mailing lists, but then give people an explicit date and of when this change will happen. We can create the list now, and people can like preemptively start sharing docs with that list.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be.
Yeah, I don't see any drawback to that. The longer the lead time we have for that, the more time people have to discover which docs have been shared with KDev.
The other one will just be like updating all our docs for that reference KDev.
Yep.
Would it be better to do a test move with something like contributors experience mailing first? Like basically, since we know it's coming, we can be the one like guinea pigs.
Dog food it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like have a first test just to see like, okay, how badly is this going to work everything? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I don't like testing in production, but yeah.
Yeah. I think the hard part with that will just be like, we will also want to send our own comms out if we're migrating to ContribEx 1. So it'd be like,
Yeah.
we'd like send them out, and then we'd also be sending out the same ones for KDev in general. So it might be like,
Well, that's why we'd only do ContribEx, because we theoretically know what's going on.
yeah.
I think it's a good idea actually to migrate that first and see whether or not there's unexpected things that it breaks. But in the meantime, create the new KDev list, let all of the leads and everyone else know that they should start sharing their docs with it.
Yep. Will we call it Dev K instead?
Dev K, yes. KDev 2.
Would it also be an option to create a new separate small mailing list of like the ContribEx steering people, I guess, and just test it on that one if we're worried about impacts on the ContribEx mailing list?
I don't know if it'd wind up working out, like, because the main thing is we're trying to get the leads are the people that would probably be like have the least problems changing, if that makes sense, just because like they'll deal with it. And it's trying to catch the general problems. Arno?
Yeah, I mean, because the idea, I mean, Laura, your idea was to find out what things are going to break and that we don't know about. Yeah. And you only do that by doing it for everybody.
Yeah. Arno, you have your hand up?
So I was curious, is the migration is kind of related to Google workspace automation issue?
Yep.
I saw in steering. The second question is, can we do that for any mailing list under googlegroups.com?
The being able to like get all the people out of the list and copy them over?
Yep.
Yes. It's just that a person has to like the person that exports the list has to have admin access to the list. So it'd be like if it was for like SIG release, would either have to go in as like contributors to export the list, or like have myself added as an admin to the list to export it, and then like sort of seed the new one.
Okay, so if Kate Sanfra is willing to be the guinea pig for that operation, we can try, because this is basically kind of what Laura said. We can basically try with a specific mailing list before switch KDev. So we can try with Kate Infra, because Kate Infra is supposed to switch from a working group to SIG. So we can basically.
It's a good opportunity, yeah.
Yep.
That is definitely an idea. The big thing would just be the I guess the time frame and how fast we can make the transition from working group to SIG happen. Hopefully not too long. For what it's worth, I'm very +1 in it becoming a SIG.
I never understood why it was a working group in the first place.
To be honest, it was before my time. I figured it'd be a SIG too, but
because like I'm like, wait, working groups are for things that are time limited, and this is not time limited.
It's a complicated story.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any more thoughts on the KDev migration at this point? It sort of sounds like our next action items are to start drafting all the like recruit a team, draft the comms, and then test with like Kate's Infra and or ContribEx. Does that sound about right? Okay, and we do have an open issue for this already.
We have like multiple issues. I think we do. So maybe
Yeah.
part of it is also grooming those issues so we don't have 5 or 6.
Yep,
We're trying
consolidate
to
down,
update.
get it all down to like one issue. Okay. Any more sort of things on that subject? Okay. Dev stats, no real updates. Anyone have any questions about it? Okay, marketing.
Hi. Sounds like there's quite a bit of work shaping up for us, which is exciting. I went ahead and put in our notes doc, the contributor comms team meets on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific time, or 8 a.m. Pacific time. What am I saying? So I went ahead and updated our notes doc with some of the asks from this meeting. I put in a note about having someone taking ownership of working with the steering election committee to make sure that we're getting out comms about the steering election and also about the KDEV email list. And I actually missed our last meeting, but I'll pull some notes from our notes doc. We have a couple of articles in progress, one about SIG node, and it looks like maybe one about KubeCon. What is KCS?
The Contributor Summit, Kubernetes Contributor Summit.
Kubernetes Contributor Summit. There we go. Yes. So comms about the Contributor Summit is on our list from last week. We were talking about comms about registration and the CFP for the Contributor Summit, if that's going to be a thing. And said to reach out to Laura. So that's good. And then Bart Farrell from our group is doing some really awesome work with creating a video series to highlight the work of contributors. He's having a few contributors do these short little videos talking about their experience contributing to Kubernetes, which is pretty awesome. So figured I'd throw that out there. If you need any help from us, like I said in the chat, you can feel free to ping us all. Our group is at contributor-comms on Slack. And you're always welcome in our meetings, and you're welcome to DM me and I'll help you get connected with the rest of the group if you ever need it.
Thank you, Caslin. Anyone else have any questions, comments about it? Okay. Then contributor docs. I personally don't have any updates. Does anyone have updates on docs at this point in time? Okay. Then we'll move on to GitHub management. The biggest thing is the easy CLA migration, which we still want to try for next week. The problem is that the PR to actually add the support to our CI is still open. We have not tested it yet. And it's just been a lot of back and forth. Let me dig up the issue quick. But essentially, as soon as that merges, for me, it is sort of like P0 to test that, so that way we can get it going. And I know like Aaron has been looped in and is basically keeping an eye on that issue to make sure we can get things going again. Other than that, like it should theoretically be a seamless migration, hopefully for everyone, but that's sort of the TLDR of that one right now. Anyone have any questions about it?
Should we put out any additional comms for that?
I would only push out comms at this point if the CI test is successful. Well, not successful, but the results of the CI test. Like, yes, we are continuing to move forward with this, or no, we are not moving forward with this is the thing that we should send out.
Okay, sounds good.
Um,
I'll keep an eye on it and try to.
yeah, I will definitely loop you all in.
Cool.
Does anyone have any questions about EasyCLA or GitHub management in general?
Yeah, I had a question regarding GitHub management. So recently I've been I forgot. Okay, anyway, so recently I've been noticing that across a lot of repositories, there are a lot of good first issues or help wanted issues that are coming up, which is awesome. But one issue that I think is there is that a lot of people aren't giving near enough context for it to be marked as one, even though the bot prompts saying that these are the guidelines for it to be qualified as one. So what happens a lot of the times is that people who pick up those issues, a lot of them like reach out to me saying that, hey, can you help me out? Or they reach out to someone else saying, hey, can you help me out? So I usually like go and like go through the code base, go through the issue and like leave a few comments giving context. But I don't think that's the right way to like always go about it. So I wanted to ask if there has been any previous discussion regarding a better way to maybe prompt or a better way to indicate that something like this, like importance of like giving enough context. So usually what also I recently started doing is like periodically going through the good first issues or the help wanted ones. And if there isn't like enough context, I like ping the author on the issue page and remove the label first and saying that once you give these context, please feel free to add the label once again. So I wanted to like ask if there are any suggestions in that aspect from you, or like if there has been any discussion regarding this previously.
I don't think there has been previous discussion on that. There's been like on that issue specifically. One of the things is like anyone can flag an issue as good first issue. So I think it would be like more so like sending a reminder or something like that out to potentially get more people like sort of in the know, like, hey, you need to provide more information about these things.
Yeah, but there isn't really any better way to do it except one at a time, because ultimately, like for a lot of issues, issues, you need the original author of the issue to modify their thing, or at least you need somebody with knowledge of that area of the code to provide the context. I would say that it's great that you've been doing that with a few of these. You've been doing that for a specific SIG, or you've been doing that in general?
In general, like not any particular. So like folks reach out, they find good first issues in like either K6s or sometimes K client, but mostly in KK also. So they reach out saying that, hey, can you help me out? This is a good first issue, but I'm not sure what to do here or how to get started. So I try and like provide some context through comments, but I was just wondering if there was like a general better. But a reminder sounds like a good idea, or like something in the form of a reminder, because I understand that it's not really anyone's fault here. Also, like people who create the issue, also it's not really like there's no blame game over here as well. So I was just wondering if there was anything else that people had in mind for improving this.
The only thing I can say is feel free to say that you're doing that on behalf of SIG contributor experience. I can't think of something different you can do, aside from the additional, hey, ping the issue author on Slack, particularly if you're not in a position to supply the additional context. Like obviously, if you know enough to put the additional context in there as a comment, then just do it, because that's going to be the fastest way to get the good first issue up to date. But if you don't, which is going to be true with a lot of issues, then, ping the person in a comment, but also ping them on Slack, because a lot of our contributors are just not checking their GitHub notifications because they get too many of them. And say, and part of it I think would be good to supply contributors with a sort of bullet point list of the things that they need to cover for a good first issue, because I think a lot of people don't know. And
Actually,
it is great that you're doing that, because that's been on our to-do list for, I don't know, year and a half.
One potential idea, this would be a little difficult to do globally, would be literally a good first issue template with a checklist of items for, like, if you are creating this issue to be a good first issue, it should be, X, Y, Z.
Well, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't do that on all the relevant repositories.
It'd just be like
GitHub admins. The bigger issue is that a lot of things don't start out as good first issues.
Yeah.
They start out as regular issues and then get converted into a good first issue. And that would bypass the template entirely, but there's no harm in having the template. Would it be used though, even for that? Because
what about a GitHub action? I think we're doing some GitHub actions, or maybe it's a Prowbot thing. What about adding something that just says, if you add the label, then it gives you the checklist as a comment?
Yeah.
And says like, at so-and-so, did you do this, do this, do this, do this, to label this a first issue?
Oh, that's a good point. So instead of like linking to what the guidelines are, we can
Manav, please.
So instead of linking to what the guidelines are, we can probably give like a short TLDR of what the guidelines are in that bot comment, and then also link to what the more detailed guidelines are supposed to be. And
yeah, you're probably not going to get people reading. I'll be honest, a lot of people don't really read, no matter how many times we love putting all kinds of stuff all over the place. But having the checklist right there with their name attached to it makes it clear. And then somebody coming to the issue can go, oh, they haven't finished the checklist, so this isn't really a good first issue for me to pick up. Or at least they know who to reach out to say, oh, you didn't finish this checklist. Let me reach out to them directly. So that might be one way to kind of help. It's not a solution in the sense of like, this fixes everything, but it does kind of help out with some of that idea, especially if it starts out as a regular issue and then somebody adds the tag later.
I think the reverse is also very much true, because like I think this idea about having it as a comment makes a lot of sense, because for example, a few months back there was an issue in Client Go which the author flagged as good first issue initially, but then that issue turned out to span over 2 whole API machine tree meetings, just like people discussing and debating whether it should be a KEP or whether it should not happen at all. So like the reverse is also very good. So like having it as a comment makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that history is helpful, especially if you don't know, like you can see the little edit to know when something got changed. It's nice to have that in the whole history of the issue.
We do make something to help people better understand how to make good first issues. I think that would also be a place where contributor comms should get involved and help to make sure that contributors are aware, hey, there's this thing that can help you make good first issues. So
great blog post.
That in our notes too. Yeah, that's a good point. Blog post maybe.
There you go. Okay. Any other sort of questions, comments on this subject or GitHub management in general? We have 8 minutes left. So I want to make sure that we also get to the open items. Okay. Slack infra. I think the only update here is huddles are awful. And thank you, Josh, for trying, like, doing the work and disabling them all over the place.
Oh, I'm not done yet because you have to do it channel by channel.
Yeah.
So
if anyone wants to pick up some work, it is getting the details on the undocumented huddle API and working them into our integration tooling to disable them. Thank you, Slack.
Yeah. Slack once again reminding us that we are not their target market. So
yep. saving a rant on that one for later. But any other questions, comments on Slack infra?
Yeah, by the way, if people were not clear on why huddles are bad, is if somebody starts one, then anyone who joins the channel gets invited to join it. And if the channel has 1,000 people on it, yeah.
Or in announcements where it's like 140,000 people.
Yeah. Well, we already blocked that.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of channels.
Yeah, it's something like 500 channels. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, then Arnaud.
I'm gonna be quick. I think last year we were talking about domain verification for Google Search Console, but I'm not sure if we did that or if we still need that.
I have no idea what this is actually referencing.
Because I remember George wanted to basically add a DNS entry for Kubernetes.io so it can basically help improve the CEO for Kubernetes.io. Let me find the docs for that quickly.
So this is a project for the purpose of improving SEO of the Kubernetes.io website.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have issues in that?
Nope. I just realized I have access to the console, but the domain verification is not done for Kubernetes.io. So I was curious if we still need to do that. I don't even know how I have permission to do that.
Yeah.
I actually think I have no idea. I think it is. I do think it's a Kate's infra thing though.
Well, SEO would be, I don't know who SEO would be. The
Docs.
But part of it is to actually figure out, yeah, probably more likely docs than anybody else since they control the website. But the first question is whether or not it's needed.
Yeah. I
mean, my personal experience is anytime I search for a how do I do X in Kubernetes, if Kubernetes.io is not the first link, it's the second or third. I mean, because the way forward on that is pretty simple, which is that we contact the CNCF. And Linux Foundation does have at least a contract SEO expert, and we have them go through things. I'm just, somebody has to make the determination that that's actually necessary.
Okay, I'm kind of specifically curious about Kates.io if we need that, because we still had a lot of things under that domain, like the documentation for basically all the sub project for cluster API. Everything's related to.
Oh, so like SIG.Kates.io, not Kubernetes. Sorry.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, no, and that is and that is a problem because shortcut links do tend to have terrible SEO. And it is my experience that when I'm looking for something that's on K8s.io, Google often doesn't know about it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you're right that there is a genuine problem there. And I don't know the solution to that except to have good static links to those pages, which then, has its own infrastructure requirements.
And I as far as the actual domain verification of K8s.io, I do think it's Kate's Infra that owns the domain.
Yeah,
I just don't know like the next steps there.
Basically just generate an entry that will be add as a DNS entry to Kates.io, and I think that's it.
Then we should be able to like everything's managed in the Kates.io. We can add like text records and things like that in there. So we should be able to do it.
Okay. I will take up that this week, maybe.
Cool. And I will say, like, there's no big rush on it. So if it's working, if something comes up,
Yeah, I
don't
will
worry
talk
too much
about that
about it.
during the kids info meeting. So just have a +1 from every chair.
Cool. Okay, any questions, comments about that? Cool, then we will call this meeting done, and I will give you 2 minutes to like do something before your next meeting. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Later.